Hello, my love, and welcome back to the Energy Expansion Podcast. One of my absolute favorite things about this podcast is I feel like I can be really real, like more real than anywhere else. And that's an interesting thing to say because I don't go out of my way to not be real, but sometimes on various social media platforms, I feel like there's this natural inclination to feel the need to show up polished. And I get that social media is a bit of a highlight reel. And over the years, being in business for over a decade now, I really think it's important to show little bits of everything, not just the highlight reel. I don't know. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down here. So it's not about putting up a facade or fake it till you make it or being manipulative even, but there's a way that I can show up and I feel like I can be all of me. Several of you have reached out to me and shared that listening to the podcast feels like you and I are just like at a coffee shop together, or better yet, like we're just sitting on a couch side by side. And I feel like there's a slightly different way that I would interact with a bestie sitting in the safety and the comfort of my living room than I might when I am going live on Facebook or Instagram. You know what I mean? So we're just going to have a really real conversation here. I've got some notes, but we're also going to go off script. We're going to go off-roading a little bit, if you will. I got a little country story from my past to weave into today. And I want to start by just sharing what feels real and true for me and what has been. And it's just been an interesting season in life, in business, in motherhood, in health, in all of the things. And it hasn't been bad. I definitely wouldn't call it bad. I feel very blessed. There's a lot that's working. It hasn't even been a season of chaos or full-on breakdown. It feels like it's been a season of friction where things are working, like they're okay, they're good, but it just feels like things are harder than they need to be, harder than necessary. I feel like coming out of last month, at the time of me recording this episode and when I release it, it's going to be the first of a brand new month. And I feel like last month was a really good month, but it was also, if I had to choose a few words to describe last month, it would be expansive, surprising, and uncomfortable. There's a lot of discomfort. And again, I'm so proud of the journey that I've been on because I think there's a past version of me who would have equated discomfort and misalignment with bad or something that needs to be fixed, or I must be doing something wrong. You notice that? It's like subtle, but there's a little nuance there. And that's not the case. It's like I can see what's good about the season of life I'm in, although it is deeply uncomfortable. And what's uncomfortable about it is I feel like God has been calling me to make a change. And not just me, but my family. I feel like there's something that is supposed to shift and that hasn't been revealed yet. And I've been journaling. Oh man, have I been journaling? I've been praying. I've been reading. I've been meditating. I've been breathworking. I've been working out. I've been taking better care of myself because I know that when I am well as a physical vessel, I can be a channel, a clearer channel, I should say, for divine information. But I think sometimes God holds us in the discomfort intentionally. There is something in that we need to feel, that we need to experience, that we need to be really mindful of. And it's a way of preparing us. I really feel like I'm being prepared physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually for something. And it hasn't been revealed yet. And I've been having these conversations with my husband. And I'm like, I know you can feel this too. And a lot of this became apparent. Like I've been feeling this I feel like I've been saying this for so darn long, like 18 to 24 months. And again, things are good. Last year, I mean, so many things happened in the last 2 years. We relocated. We have this really beautiful home. Our kids are thriving in a brand new school. My business, last year, we rounded out the year, and in our 12 years of business, last year was our second highest year in terms of income and impact. So again, there's so much goodness, and also something just feels off. And I feel like it really came to a head a few weeks ago when I went to just a Sunday church service at a local church that I found that I've been loving and I've been attending with some friends. And the pastor who was speaking, the message was basically around how when God calls you to do something, it won't always make sense. In fact, a lot of times it's not going to make sense. That reminds me, there's a meme that's been floating around the social medias for years, and it's something along the lines of, it's okay if your calling from God doesn't make sense to others. It wasn't a conference call. It wasn't a conference call. That is between you and God, and that is it. And there were so many things about that particular message on that Sunday morning that really felt like a mirror, because I am feeling the call so strong. It literally gets stronger every day. And I'm like, okay, God, you've got my attention. You've got my attention, and I don't yet have the answers. So I'm just really focusing on, this is me coaching myself through an interesting season. I'm focusing on moving forward with an open heart and an open mind, eager and curious and faithful and hopeful. That Sunday morning, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we talked about, because it was so relevant and it was so powerful. And I rushed home, and my husband didn't come to church with me that Sunday. He doesn't come to church with me a lot of Sundays, but I share a lot of what I'm learning and what's inspiring me, and he's totally open to that. So in that moment, it really felt like something clicked. It felt like a reminder that I'm being called to do things differently. I'm being called to do things differently. That's been the whisper. That's what's been coming through in my journal again and again and again, to let go of what I thought it had to look like, it being life, motherhood, marriage, business, career, purpose, you name it, success. And I think that part of what's been creating this discomfort and this sense of misalignment is me noticing how other people are doing life, and it seems to be working really well for them. And then I might try that on for myself and realize, ew, no, that's not for me. Not that it's bad, and no judgment towards anyone else, but I'm trying on all of these different things that look like the right thing, and it's not the right fit for me. So the particular story, I'd heard this story, but I really got it in a new way for the first time. And it has to do with a story in the Bible from Luke, specifically Luke chapter 5. And it's the story of Jesus interacting with Simon, who later becomes Peter. So Simon Peter. And Simon is a fisherman. So he's an expert. This is what he does. This is his zone of genius. And he's out fishing all night long. He's very, very tired. He catches nothing. So he brings his boat and his other fishermen back to the shore, and Jesus steps on the boat and says, I want to preach. So go out to the water, because there weren't speaker systems back then. So using water was a way to amplify sound. So Simon, knowing how gifted Jesus is as a spiritual teacher, honors the request, no problem. So he takes the boat out to the water away from shore so that Jesus can preach. And while they're out there, Jesus starts directing Simon. And he's telling him, okay, I want you to cast your net over there. Jesus says, cast your net over there. Do this thing I'm asking you to do. And Simon is confused. He's tired, probably really hungry. If he's my husband, he's going to be really hangry. And he's like, all right, Jesus, you're a really good teacher. You're a really great healer, but I'm the fisherman, man. He doesn't argue with Jesus, but there's definitely, I would imagine that there's this resistance, like, what is this guy talking about? He should stay in his own lane, kind of a thing. I think there was a moment where he says, Jesus, I get it, man, but I was out there all night long and there's nothing. But he listens, he obeys. And when he does what Jesus says, if you are familiar with the story, very quickly, Simon catches so many fish with his net that the net begins to break. So he has to call over all of his other fishermen, like, come on, guys, you got to bring your nets and your boats out here. The nets are starting to break. There are so many fish that as they bring them in, the boats are starting to sink. No one dies in this story. The boats don't actually sink. But the lesson here and the metaphor is abundance. Abundance. When we have the courage to listen to the call and to do things differently and to trust that natural inclination within us, even if it doesn't make any sense, even if it feels scary, even if you're only given one small piece of the puzzle, moving forward with that. And so that this idea of casting my net, and again, this isn't just about me, this is a family thing. And I've been bringing this back up the last couple of weeks of me and my husband, like, where have we been casting our nets? Where have we been placing our time, our energy, our focus, our attention in the areas of life that matter most? And is that really where we should be casting our net? Or is God asking us to do something different? So where are you casting your net? And maybe if you're anything like me, if you're in a season similar to the one that I'm in, then maybe you're being asked to shift gears a little bit. And it was so interesting because as I was thinking about this particular message and feeling how deeply it resonated, there was a memory that struck me like lightning. It was something that I had not thought of in a really, really long time. So much so that it goes all the way back to a moment, I want to say I was probably 6 years old. To give you some context, at this age, my mom, who I adore, and I always say my mom is and was a hardworking single mama. She did so much for me. Through my younger years, she was in different relationships, a handful of few long-term relationships. And she was dating this guy who was very much in the Western rodeo circuit. His family was really big and well known, even low-key famous in the little town that we lived in. A lot of people knew this family. And he had built up a lot of success in the rodeo world, specifically through selling horse trailers, which I'm pretty sure are really expensive. So when you're the go-to person and people are buying that from you, you're doing pretty well for yourself. The interesting thing that I want you to know is that this was a completely foreign territory for me. The area that me and my mom were living in had a very different vibe than where we moved to when she was dating this guy. We went from a teeny tiny apartment in a more metropolitan area to a huge piece of property literally inside of a canyon. Acres and acres of land. There was a barn. There were pigs, chickens. We had bunnies. We had horses. We had dogs. Oh my gosh. There were so many moments of that season of life. I won't get into it. There were really high highs and there were really low lows, but there were parts of it that were really dreamy for me as a little girl, if you can imagine that shift. So this world was brand new to me. We were getting ready to go to one of our very first rodeos, and I remember needing to go shopping for the getup because I didn't have one. So I got the boots, I got the little Wranglers. I'm pretty sure I had a vest with fringe. I had a really fancy cowgirl hat. It was pink. And we even had one of those, what do you call them? Those, it's like two little strings and then a pretty emblem. I think it's called a bolo tie. I even had a bolo tie, fam. I did not feel the part, but I looked the part. And so we go to this rodeo, and for whatever reason, I'm going to guess my mom, somebody signed me up for an event. Like not just to go have fun and walk around the rodeo, but like to actually participate, which again, I had never done before. The event that I was signed up for had to do with a goat in an arena, like a little dirt arena kind of a situation. And the goat had a red ribbon tied to one of its ears. And then there was a pole smack dab in the center of the arena. And so there's a pole in the center, a rope connected to the pole, and the rope was pretty darn long. The other side of the rope was connected to the goat, which had the red ribbon on its ear. And the whole premise of this event was whichever kid in my age group, I want to say there were probably about a dozen of us, was able to get the ribbon off of the goat's ear, the fastest was going to win this gigantic trophy. And the thing that's so interesting about this, like there's a few factors I need you to know, and this, I promise, ties back to doing things differently, thinking about things differently. The word innovation, I don't consider myself someone really innovative. That doesn't feel like one of my gifts, but it's something that I keep thinking about and actually have been quite a bit over the last 2 years for various reasons, but especially because things in the coaching industry have changed so much. And I really want to serve at the absolute highest level, and being innovative is going to be part of that. So I wanted to share those pieces with you. So what's really interesting is there I am, 6 years old. Deep down, I know that I don't belong. I feel like I don't belong, but I look like I belong. And all of these kids had probably done this event many, many times before. And for whatever reason, I must have been last. I'm watching these kids chase this goat. They're running all over the place. The goat's running around in circles. It's a pretty big pit. And these kids are falling down on their butts. They're probably quite literally eating dirt as they like go to leap for the goat, and the goat sneaks away and boom, they're on their face, dirt in their mouth. And some of the kids got the ribbons, some of them didn't. But there was something really magical about being the different one. Being able to see things and think outside of the box, because I had never done anything quite like that before. I didn't grow up in that culture. I didn't actually know what I was supposed to do. And so when it came my time, I very calmly walked directly to the center of the arena where the pole was, grasped my 2 little hands around the rope, and I just pulled the goat right to me. I didn't run, I didn't chase, I didn't fall. Not saying that falling down every once in a while isn't okay. It's part of life. But there was just something where I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be an easier way. It really doesn't have to be this hard. So I ended up pulling the red ribbon off of the goat's ear in 10 seconds or so. A fraction of the time that it took everyone else. And I won the prize. I got the trophy. I did it with the least amount of effort and the most amount of ease. And it's so funny because that memory, that picture is such a beautiful metaphor. At the very beginning of this episode, I was talking about how things are good, things are working, but they feel so much harder than they have to be. And I actually know, I'm hoping that that's not the case for you, but I have a feeling it might be, because I have had conversations with so many clients and loved ones and biz besties and people in my life who are not entrepreneurs who feel that way as well. There's so many people out there right now who feel like they're chasing the next thing, who feel like they're running in circles, who are trying so hard to make it work, and maybe even trying to make it work in the way that it's working for other people. But what if that's not meant for you? I really don't think that we were made to chase and run in circles and run to the point of exhaustion and burnout? What if every single one of us could start to really look at life a little differently right now? I wonder if there's a way, just want you to be in this inquiry. I'm in this inquiry for myself of channeling that little version of Dani who saw how everyone was struggling. And I didn't laugh. I didn't make fun. I didn't make it mean anything about them. I just thought, let me learn from this. Let me find a better way to do this. This is an invitation for you to walk smack dab to the center of the arena, to stand strong and tall and firm. And instead of running and chasing, I want you to trust. I want you to magnetize. I want you to have unshakable faith that the exact right strategy, the vision, the information that you need so that you can create exactly what it is that you desire is on its way to you. And as we wrap up here, there's a few reflection questions I want to invite you to sit with. What areas of your life feel like they're harder than they need to be? I described parts of this as friction. Are you experiencing friction where it feels like you're trying to swim upstream and you're realizing this is not working anymore? Or maybe it's low key working, but you know if you keep doing things the way that you're doing them, you're going to lead to burnout and exhaustion, and we don't want that for you. Where in your life have you been chasing? What in your life have you been chasing instead of just powerfully owning and claiming? I'm sure you can hear it in my voice that I'm personally really inspired by all of this. And these are some of the questions that I've been sitting with and honestly letting myself get really excited about and seeing everything from an entirely new lens, which was why I was so excited to share this episode with you. This is also our shortest episode. I feel like the length and sort of the context and maybe even content of this episode feels a little bit different than our other ones. Let me know how you felt about today's episode. Do you like the longer episodes that we normally do, or do you like these kind of quick and dirty? Let me know what you're vibing with and what you're loving. Just although we are now at 25, I think this is episode 25. I love your feedback. And I was also really excited to share this with you because I'd shared this story inside of Energy Expansion Academy, my signature program. And the women were really lit up. They really enjoyed this conversation. And one of the women was like, I cannot believe how masterfully you wove all of that together, Dani. And so I wanted to share it with you as well. So without further ado, I'm going to say goodbye for now. We'll see you again next week. As always, if this landed for you today, please feel free to send me a message. I love when you screenshot, when you tag me, when you share these episodes with the people in your life who you know will benefit from them. And yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you next week. I love you so much.